Welcome to Apostates on the Fringe. I am Sam, and this is the fourth time I've done this intro. Jesus Christ, you want to stop laughing. This won't ever work.
We can laugh during the intro.
Welcome to Apostates on the Fringe. I'm Sam, and this is a leftist atheist podcast brought to you by the Atheist Society of Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm here with my host, Dustin.
I'm here. Hi, Sam.
Say hi, Dustin.
I'm Dustin.
What you drinking, Dustin?
We have another host. They're sitting over there in the corner.
Hey, I'm Alistair.
Hi, Al.
I exist.
I was letting Dustin introduce his beer first.
I got the seasonal. It's a Sweetwater almond milk stout, which I had never seen before. I picked it up. And because I have a really poor palate, it really tastes like a coffee milk stout, but just slightly different. But it's a nice dark beer. Pretty pleasant. Not bad.
Very German beer. Franz Scheimer Premium
with
Weiss
more enthusiasm,
beer.
sir. What is it?
I have the most German fucking heritage, and I can't read this shit.
Could also be the poor lighting in here.
Franz and Scheiner. Premium Weiss beer. I at least know not to say my fucking W's. I know that much about German.
Yeah.
How is it
over there? I mean, yeah, you know,
that's
like
very descriptive.
It tastes like a German beer. Like, you know, they have like a purity rating on their beer over there. They literally can't have more than 4 kinds of beer in Germany.
I did not know this.
Yeah, there's only 4 kinds of beer. Well, this is one of them. It tastes like one of those.
Al, you're boring again.
Yeah, I'm still on the fucking grocery store selection. I'm cleaning out the fridge with Gotta Get Up to Get Down and a Sweetwater Blue.
Yes, please clean it out. But you brought more Gotta Get Up, so it'll...
Yeah, because I didn't know if I had any more Gotta Get Up. So I went to the store like today to grab a few things, and I went ahead and grabbed another thing of it. Just because it was the only thing they had. And then I got out to my car, and I looked at that shitty fucking video you sent me the other day, and I was like, God damn it, I did have more there.
How many were in there? Because do you now
there
have
was just one. These
just
are the
one.
last 2 out of those.
What shitty video? That was hilarious.
We
Yeah, it
usually
was pretty
clear
funny.
out all of the beer we store here on movie nights, but we haven't had one this
We
month,
haven't
so.
had a movie night in a while, no. But then we're always going to have that... We have that... Was it a Guinness that's in there? The extra stout?
The Guinness, yeah.
The extra stout that nobody drinks?
I mean, I'll drink a Guinness.
I mean, I'm not a fan of them. So, Sam, before we get started, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your other side project. That's the Old City Optical Reliquary, is that what it's called? Tell me about this pumpkin spice, or the spice pumpkin.
The Spice Pumpkin.
Yeah, tell me about it, because I watched that. That was pretty funny, honestly.
You liked it?
I did enjoy that.
Is that the... I got a notification about a video that
That
looked
was
interesting,
we dropped that Friday night. Old City Optical Reliquary on YouTube, or Awkor, as I'm trying to call it. That was our Dune-inspired video. more inspired by what's going to happen in the next movie, because they don't do the whole spice agony thing. So, in the books, when they do the spice, there's a chance that you'll die or you'll become psychic, basically, and like be connected to your whole lineage. And so the joke was that a bunch of Karens treat pumpkin spice like that.
It was a pretty funny video. I enjoyed it. It was maybe three and a half minutes long.
It's about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Can't wait for... It's probably going to be 2 videos down the road, so it's going to be a couple months because it's going to be a hard one to produce. We're going to have a perfectly normal average cop video, a slasher movie with a cop that is the villain, but he's not a maniac. He's a normal cop. It's just what cops do.
Silence your phone, Sam. No, that's fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the video you guys put out. I thought it was funny. I thought it was kind of well done. The makeup, so kudos to your makeup artists.
No, it's Kayla, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty funny. It was.
She did costumes too. She did that whole hood veil thing in there.
Did you? So, which project did you have more fun doing? Was it that one, or was it for the Fright Fest film?
That one was easy. The Fright Fest film was... The whole thing about that festival is you have to make a film in 2 weeks. So you're like, bam, bam, bam. Like you can't even like pre-production. As soon as they tell you this is what you're doing, you have to get that night and start writing a script, and then like immediately have to like get the actors. The hardest thing is of getting the actors. Of course, I'm not going to pay these people. Like, I don't got money. I don't got money. So I have to find talented people that can actually do it, that all have the same schedule and can meet in the same place on the same day.
That means you really don't have you have to kind of know people's abilities because you don't have time to cast people or auditions. I mean, did you have auditions?
I don't have auditions, but I know people, so I can kind of cast and see if they're available.
Okay. No, that was fun. Congrats again on winning the most true to the genre.
Yeah,
that sounds like fun though. As someone who does art, like when there's these like quick deadlines to things, it's stressful.
It's stressful, yeah.
But when you get done, it's just like, man, that was a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah. When we're doing that kind of stuff, like we're all in like work mode and like on the edge and like ready to fucking snap at each other and trying to like be professional and keep in mind that everyone's doing this for free and on their own time, and you're just like, we have a deadline, get your fucking shit together.
Do you think you guys had more fun doing the Spice Pump Con?
That was easy. Like we did that in one evening, and it was a lot of After Effects stuff for the video stuff, but the shooting,
the actual shot itself
was all shot. Actually, it was 2 days because I don't know if it came through. The waiter, all the shots of the waiter were on a complete separate day. I don't know if you even noticed that. So, like I said, you have to organize your actors, and he could not be available the same day that the 3 other actresses were. So we had to just shoot it differently and then edit it together to make it look like it. We had a stand-in. That's why it tricks you, is because you think it's him, but it's really someone else's back. Movies do this shit all the time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, they shoot way out of order. Like, they'll shoot the very, what we see as the very first scene of a movie. They could be the last day of fucking shooting.
They usually save the most dangerous, expensive shit for last, just in case if something goes wrong, like you accidentally shoot your cinematographer. Are we going to talk about that shit?
We never talked about that.
We never talked about that shit. But Alec Baldwin's been saying some dumb fucking shit in the news lately too, so I think it's time to get on to him.
What has he been saying?
I don't know.
Because I started following initially, but then...
So when it first happened, good segue. When it first happened, the right hate Alec Baldwin because he is...
he mocks Trump.
He mocks Trump.
He was mocking Trump on Saturday Night Live, and wonderfully, by the way.
And he's pro-gun control.
Yeah, he's a hardcore Democrat. He's a hardcore centrist Democrat, so the right hates him.
My dad even sent me a text. He's like... if you don't agree with guns, then you shouldn't have guns on your set, or you shouldn't make movies with guns, or something like that. And I just didn't even respond.
Guns are in the real world. Like, if you're making a movie, they're going to have guns in them. Especially if it's an American movie. But anyways, so... when it came out, a lot of people were saying that he should go to jail for murder and all this shit.
Yep.
And it was like... it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his job to check the gun. And then a few days later, you find out that he's a producer on the movie, and the film industry is under a strike right now, and he hired scabs, like people who did not know what the fuck they were doing.
Didn't the guy had been in a previous incident already?
Yeah, he hired cheap-ass scabs that had a history of fucking up because there was a strike going on. So it went from me, like... Alec Baldwin did nothing wrong. Someone just handed him a loaded gun and told him it was safe to, he hired a bunch of jackasses who handed him a loaded gun.
Yeah, we turned on him pretty quick.
Some scabs.
So that's my dad posted that he should be murdered and or he should be charged with murder. And one of his one of his friends came on and said something, and I got on there and was just like, I don't know if he should be charged with murder. But I kind of like.
There can be a criminal charge.
As I was going back and forth with this guy, though, I was getting all this information about the scabs, and I was going, and at the end, I'm like, I can kind of see a negligent homicide.
Yeah, a charge, would be possible. I know he's already been sued.
He's responsible in the sense that he hired the people that did it, and he did it he hired scabs in a strike, and the result of that was someone's death.
They weren't trained on industry standards.
Yeah.
They didn't have the background. The girl who actually gave them the gun, from my understanding, had only worked with guns and one other.
Yeah, it was like the relative of somebody, so just like not someone professional, like they had their like daughter or whoever. Nepotism on site.
And there was like a live fucking bullet in the gun, correct? That's
at
what I
least
kept
know it's
reading.
I haven't heard anything from the investigation. I know that there was a projectile. I don't know what the projectile was. Probably and presumably a live bullet, but I haven't seen an update from that. Because
I was hearing a lot of
even-
reports that there was an actual live bullet in the gun.
That's probably the case. I haven't really checked up on it because it's been a few weeks now.
We're gun fans here. Has anybody shot blanks before? I haven't.
I have never
I've
shot blanks.
not,
No.
but
When you shoot a blank, something does come out.
right, and I mean, you still have to stay like a
Yeah.
20 feet or something like that, maybe 50
Yeah,
feet.
there was that idiot who had a gun that had blanks and like put it to his head and fired and
Right.
fucking killed himself because
But-
it's still explosive force coming out of that gun.
So the crow, Brandon Lee,
Yeah, he died
his
on set.
situation was they had live bullets on set that they modified on set to be blanks, and they left something in there.
Something got lodged in the barrel from a previous
Yeah,
round.
something got in there that made it like fire, but it got stuck in there, and then they did another shot with those same blanks, and God, I can't think of the word
It
right
dislodged
now,
it.
but
I think
it was enough
dislodged
to
the projectile,
yeah,
and
yeah.
It's probably something similar, That's what they have to do. They have to check their gun, and any gun owner knows to check their gun, period, all the time, no matter what. Always treat it as it's loaded.
Right.
Like even when stage guns, when they have blanks in stage guns, the end of the barrel is actually like blocked off, and the only opening in the barrel, so that it doesn't blow up, is like up. So if anything does come out, that shoots straight up. So they have some guns that do that, but of course in a movie
That ruins the shot because
you would
you would
ruin the
see
shot
that.
because you could see it come
Yeah.
up. So they can't do that.
You can't be ruining the shot for safety. You got to have realism.
I mean,
No, I get it.
It's
but
better than CGI fucking flares, but the problem's not with the guns. The problem's with them hiring fucking shitty people to do it.
I mean, the person did have like a history of
Yeah, like he was cutting corners in a fucking rider.
Right, correct me if I'm wrong. Like a previous gun issue, right? Was
Mm-hmm.
the Rust director or whatever or whoever the guy was from Rust, or is that the
His
movie they were shooting?
cinematographer is the one that died.
Okay, well that's the cinematographer, but the guy that they
DP,
used it for the prop.
specifically.
I think so.
But the shitty thing he said this week was that he fucking Baldwin is now pushing for cops to be on all sets, on movie sets.
What the fuck? Why? What would that do?
Yeah, I know. I was like, that's just going to get more people killed.
Right.
Like, cops
Like,
don't
what?
fucking solve anything. So I'm like, fuck you,
How
Al.
would police
Now
have
I've completely
done
turned
anything?
on him. Fuck him.
I wish y'all can see the confusion on my face when Sam said it because I
Yeah,
hadn't heard
like-
that statement, but like,
Yeah, I hadn't heard
why? What to what end? What
That
is that going to
makes
help?
no logical sense. The cops wouldn't have Are the cops there to check the gun safety?
If the cop's there to stand
Like,
in
that's-
front
that's
of
fucking
whatever the gun is firing, then I say okay.
That is inappropriate, Sam.
If the cop's there to stand in front of, just in case if something goes wrong, they're going to take that bullet. I approve of that.
I mean, they wear bulletproof
Yeah,
vests.
sure, they can
so,
wear a
you
vest. I
know.
don't care. As long as they're there to protect, as long as their bodyguard's there to stand in front of the important people, just doing their jobs, their union jobs.
I mean, if
Their job's to protect and serve.
if Baldwin was really, concerned about the future of gun safety, then wouldn't they just rather have like a range expert or a rangeman?
That's the most logical, and they have people that are dedicated to gun safety on set, but they were on strike. But
Yeah.
there's a union job for that in the industry.
Like you were saying, Baldwin's very anti-gun, so it's pretty safe to say he doesn't know shit about them.
It probably is the case.
I'm going to go with that.
No,
I don't know. I know a lot of people who are vocal about gun laws who own guns themselves.
I mean, he's not a leftist. He
didn't go that far left yet.
No, he's a center Democrat.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Have there at least been civil suits been filed already as a result of that?
I think so. I think I saw something about. I've seen a lot of fucking lawsuit shit. I may be getting it mixed up. I know Astroworld has lawsuits.
Is that going to be our next story?
That'll be our next one here in a second. But I could have swore I saw something about, because that'd be obviously a civil case will probably be presented, if not already. But I know they haven't gone forward with any kind of criminal charges yet for anyone involved on the set yet. So, but I guess it's still under investigation.
Yeah,
but we haven't had any updates on that. And it's still, and that's been several weeks. So we probably. But then again, like I said, wheels of justice turn slowly sometimes for some people, especially when you're rich. So there may
yeah,
not even
he's
be
rich. He'll be fine.
So yes,
He'll be fine.
a lawsuit has been filed by the chief electrician.
This will be a pretty slam dunk case of negligence. So I expect. But these movies are insured, are they not? Could
well, there was a lot of things that were there for safety when the actual union people were working them.
No, but I mean, do we think Baldwin will be personally financially responsible for that, or would you think the insurance?
I think that
they have,
he should. He's fucking rich. He should spend some money on something.
What should happen and what will happen are two different things. Is all I'm saying.
I think insurance would cover it, wouldn't it?
I would think so as well.
But the whole point here is that there was a fucking strike. It's the union. Everything would have been fine if he had paid through the union, but he didn't want to.
Scabbers are shit.
And this is what happens when you pay for scabs. The end.
Man, so let's go ahead and move on to the shit show that just happened this weekend. Was it Friday or Saturday that the Astroworld occurred?
I thought it was
Saturday.
longer than
It
that,
was.
Yeah,
it was Saturday. No, it was recent. Yeah,
I think
so
that weekend was just so fucking long for me that it seemed like a whole fucking week.
Is it because you had to go 2 days while listening to the Sainz v. Kessler trial?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, no. that made the whole week long.
I'm kidding. No, okay, so we don't have to tell anyone about it because it was a major event, obviously. So Travis Scott, and I will be honest with you, I had no idea who this
I'm like, who the fuck is that guy?
I had no fucking clue, but apparently, the dude turns out some, he gets some attendance rates, over 50,000 people.
Gen Z really likes him.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
They got a shitty taste of music, huh?
Yeah.
So 8 people died. Now, some
9
of the things
now. As
it
of
9?
today.
Oh, that one didn't survive. The one,
Yep.
was the one that was in the coma, or is
I
that
didn't read probably the one.
So
in
they
the
all
coma.
got trampled. Everyone that died.
It wasn't not so much trampled. As, I know some may have been trampled, but a
Some
lot of it
got
was they
smashed.
just can't breathe.
Yeah.
They literally just got smushed together because there were hype videos, and he was. I'm gonna go ahead and say, and you can fight me on this. I think some of the things he did provoked this kind of action. Like he was encouraging to jump the fence and brush the gate. And you may disagree with me on that, but some of the hype videos, he was he welcomed that, and now some of the narrative that so I became a TikTok whore recently and started watching a lot of TikToks, and immediately after that incident, there were a flood of TikToks from many performers who stopped their show when a single person was in jeopardy and was in danger.
But you can't, a lot of times you can't really compare the crowd size because this was a music festival, which means it's probably at a very more open space. And I saw 50,000, but I believe those were ticket holders and there were non-ticket holders in there. The crowd was fucking packed in. And, it seems like it's way more. And so the crowd size, I think, could have played into why he couldn't see.
No, he did. He actually did stop the show 3 times, but he didn't end the show. So he noticed that there were issues, and someone even actually jumped onto the stage and yelled at the cameraman that someone is dead over there. And then he said, "What do you want me to stop?" He's like, "Stop the show for what? Y'all want to be here for this?" So, from the footage I've seen and the
I did see the girl going on there, but I didn't really hear what happened. But, I don't know. It just seems like when there's that much chaos going on, it's hard to really, it's hard to realize what's going on.
I would kind of give him the benefit of the doubt, but then I saw previous footage from other concerts that he was at, and so he did this crowd surfing thing. He jumped into the crowd.
Yeah, I saw that. Someone tried to steal his shoe.
And so he claimed that someone tried to steal his shoe and then directed the crowd to beat his ass.
Okay, so yeah.
He said beat that motherfucker. He tried to steal my shoe, beat that motherfucker. And this huge crowd, and if they're I may be using the wrong words, but he did direct them to kick that person's ass. And that's a huge crowd of people. And if they're hyped up, they're gonna
Yeah.
they're gonna turn and do that. Like, he incited that violence there. Now the security did get that guy out. Like, he wasn't like pummeled by everyone. I'm sure someone got some shots in before security got him out. And they literally pulled him over the gate and then shoved him aside. But a lot of footage I've seen.
I think he's kind of shown that he's kind of a dickhead. That's kind of the vibe. Not only, that's his whole thing.
Yeah.
That's his music. His music is, hey, I'm a dickhead.
I
I'm a
haven't
big
listened to
fucking
his
piece of
music
shit.
set,
I'm
I
a
have
piece of
nothing about
shit.
it.
So when you get a whole audience of people that are like, yeah, that really speaks to me, they're not going to care about each other once shit goes down.
But there was apparently 50 feet away from him, like, someone had like died, and like he was doing like the robot dance, whatever. He may not have seen it again. Like, that is a very large crowd, but he knew enough to stop the show 3 times, but didn't end the show, and as a result, 8 people did die. But that's not really the main reason we want to talk about this, is because almost immediately afterwards, like, satanic panic set in.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, Christians are just stupid people. They want to try to turn anything into anything.
It was a planned ritual.
It was a planned blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
Is what this was. Because
see, my main point there was that Satan would listen to better music than fucking Travis Scott.
I don't know. I've never listened to
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like, I haven't heard anything really good about him, and like, typically, if you sell your soul to the devil, don't you usually get like amazing talent and like you
The devil
become
just
a
gave him
legend?
some bad tattoos. And
I guess. I guess
Gen
he
Z
will
thinks
go
that's
down
awesome.
in history.
Gen Z thinks bad tattoos is awesome and to look like a bag boy, apparently.
Well, but the unfortunate thing that aged like milk was the slogan for the festival was "See you on the other side."
Yeah, you had to walk through his mouth or some shit, or like it was some like I guess it was him, but kind of demonic. If I remember right.
I wouldn't say it's demonic. It looks more cartoonish than anything else. But the slogan "See you on the other side" is just kind of like aged like milk when 9 people died as a result of attending said satanic blood ritual.
It was also a live, like the venue and promotional group was Live Nation, and they've been big pieces of shit and have had a lot of lawsuits and against them for a number of infractions of safety. So I blame the venue too.
Yeah, apparently a lot of venues are saying that they will not work with Travis Scott now.
Yeah, he already canceled his Las Vegas.
Did he cancel or did they cancel?
He said he. I don't know. All I know is that he won't be doing the Las Vegas thing, and he canceled something else as well.
Yeah, he's kind of shown that he's a piece of shit person. Like I said, there's plenty of
There's plenty of evidence that he's a piece of shit person.
Evidence that he's a piece of shit person. His music pretty much says that himself too, from what I understand of it. That it's got an attitude to it. It's like so.
But where I was kind of swayed by, him failing to stop, despite people like literally rushing, jumping on the stage, yelling at the cameraman like, "Hey, someone's dead over there," while he had stopped the show 3 times but kept going. There was a flood of videos from people who attended several. I mean, like hard punk rock, concerts with mosh pits and shit and everything. But as soon as like a single incident, like they stopped the show, for any number of reasons, and it was just an onslaught of these videos showing all these performers stopping the show, and yet this one resulted in the deaths of 8 or 9 people. It shows like either he didn't care, or he was kind of like what, stop the show for what? Y'all came for this, and just kept going.
Yeah, I
could have saved some lives.
I think that it's him. His art has it's not only just his fault from being a shitty person, but by pushing a shitty attitude that then your shitty crowd has, where they don't give a shit either when they're fucking killing people. I think that just a whole, if it's not Satanists, it's just like summoned a group of a bunch of people that love that type of vibe. So that's what you get. You
mentioned the ticket holder thing. Like that's how many ticket holders there were. There were people that rushed because there was a hype video put out months before that was kind of encouraging that kind of behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's the whole vibe around him. It's not just...
Yeah, there were videos of, like, kids tearing down the gates and just going.
It's
on
not just
wedding
him that night. That's his vibe. His whole vibe is be a piece of shit, trample over people. That's what I get from him.
But you just gotta love how quickly the fucking Christian right just jumped on this satanic.
They live in a fucking fantasy world.
Of course,
Everything
obviously,
is
Illuminati
Illuminati.
was quickly brought up as well.
They live in a fucking fantasy world. Like, everything that they see is filtered through their, like, fucking visions as pawns for a Christo-fascist force in the country. That's everything they see goes through this lens of fantasy for them.
In Louisville last summer, someone was shot at a protest. And after the shooting, a friend of mine ran over to him, and he had a jacket with a TST patch on the back. Big old patch.
Did it have the logo or just the words TST?
It had the logo and
Okay.
everything. So he runs over to help the guy, and people are filming, so there's a glimpse of the back of his jacket on a video, and they went fucking crazy on it over it. He ended up being harassed for a while, and all because of it was probably a second of a satanic symbol, and the whole thing was fake. So many fucking conspiracies started all because of that 1 second.
But to be fair, satanic panic also kind of works in our favor when we use it the right way.
When we use it the right way. When we use it, it does.
Right.
But
But we have to rely on satanic panic for that to work. For us to be like, well, if you want to have churches, then we're gonna have. If you want to have, church information presented to kids, then we're gonna have satanic pamphlets put out.
And that's why it weakens that. That's why that they could have said that in the 80s, and it would have had a much bigger impact than them saying it today. Is because of how we've de-escalated their call for that. They've been using that satanic panic call since the fucking 40s.
Yeah,
but. During the Red Scare
well,
sort of thing?
It's the same thing as, the witch hunts and everything else. It's that same, this is evil. It's just, since the 40s, it's been Satan instead of witches.
And they can just label it under anything they don't like. And they don't like
That's
Travis.
True.
They don't like Travis Scott. And I don't either. So, I don't know. Maybe it was a God thing. They were murdering them for God. Because, I don't like what's going on. I don't like Travis Scott. I don't like Live Nation. I don't like what's going on. So let's do the same thing.
Crowds are easy to rile up when you get all those people and you have
I've been
that
to plenty of shows, and if the main person isn't trying to make
that's
people...
what I said.
I've been to shows where they're like, tear this fucking venue down, and no one gets hurt.
I don't know.
That is also why I am not into metal music anymore. That's why I am a raver, because I would rather some random person come and try to grope my butt than somebody try to push me in a mosh pit and punch me in the face. I'm over that shit.
Yeah, I have I've never had an interest in mosh pits or anything. Because why? I'm not gonna. I don't want to go somewhere and get punched in the face. That's just not my thing.
I kind of like pain, but that was never my scene.
Yeah, if I want to listen to something hard, I'll go get some drum and bass in me.
I can understand why some people are into that. The straight edge kids in the early 2000s, I know, were really big into beating the shit out of each other.
They didn't have any other outlet.
I know, that's what.
Oh shit, we can't get drunk. Let's just punch each other in the face.
I never understood the straight edge thing. I never got into it, and I didn't really know anything about it. I just knew the only way I know about straight edge is because apparently Jason Mewes was a straight edge at one point. And
oh great, how'd that work?
What the fuck? He was also a fucking heroin addict.
This is before then. This is way before then. But so apparently this is from
he
Kevin
probably
Smith's
should have
Q&A.
stayed with the straight edge.
He should have. Yeah. But apparently, so he wasn't getting laid, so it was just no booze, no drugs, no, But then it was also no pussy either for him because it wasn't getting laid. So that's
why. Yeah, the straight edge people are really. It's kind of a Christian movement. It's where they try to have this it's where the Christians tried to have a movement in the metal scene. So they tried to combine it and be like, it's really cool to not do drugs and not get laid, isn't it, guys? Isn't it? Isn't it? Let's sing about Christ. I love Christ.
My favorite.
Christ is my Lord.
I can say that. So I was in Nashville at the time that was going on, and I worked at a club, and ours were not fucking Christian bands. I did not work those nights, though, because that many sober people and me.
The sober
being
people
sober
punching each other and
usually,
screaming, growling about how they're saved by the Lord.
Fucking Christian music is the goddamn worst. Christian music is worse than Christian movies, I think.
No. No, because
you
can accidentally listen to a Christian song sometimes, and you're like you just think it's another song, and
like
then you
Creed.
hear a lyric, and
Nobody knew Creed was a Christian band for the longest time.
and then you just hear a lyric, and you're like, wait a second, but you never watch a Christian movie, and you're like, is this a Christian movie?
Mike Birbiglia, he's a comedian. He made fun of Christian music on one of his sets. He was like how they low key just like they start off as a normal song, and all of a sudden they're like, but Christ is Lord.
I will say this: I think we should specify Christian pop music or Christian rock, metal, all that, because you go all the fucking old ass gospel is not bad. The lyrics are fucking shit. But the music itself is really fucking good.
It's kind of like Renaissance paintings. Like, they couldn't do anything else. It's like, wow, those are some really cool paintings of Jesus. They're really well done. They literally were not allowed to paint anything else.
Right.
And I know people that had to get into gospel because they didn't have any other way they could sing like that. That was the only thing. Because Christianity destroys everything.
The sound, the style of music is one you only really get with Christian music. And to have something... I mean, I know people play around with modifying songs or...
I was going to tell you this, one of my favorite new trends is awkward Christian parodies. And I don't. You didn't see it yet, but when you get home, you'll have a link to something to a TikTok that I saw. They seriously, and I swear to fuck, they changed wet ass pussy into worship and prayer.
I've seen that one. Actually,
it's so bad good. Like these parodies are so.
They
bad.
got that worship and prayer.
But the funniest part is someone who was running. They had to listen to this song enough to get the cadence down for everything else. For research purposes.
I mean, every time I drive by Planned Parenthood and there's protesters out there, I sit at I pull to a side street. And where I can see the light, and as soon as it turns yellow, I turn out, so I'm stuck at that red light in front of them, and I turn WAP up as loud as I can.
So you're teaching them this. This is your fault, Al. It's your fault I saw this awful-ass fucking parody. It was actually pretty fucking funny.
That is a bopping tune, and then they listen to the lyrics. They're like, oh.
I took my kid to Planned Parenthood once, and I stayed out in the parking lot, and there was a protester there, and I had my car parked as close as I can, and I just put it on repeat. And I was giggling. I'm like, by the time he goes home, he's going to be singing this song to himself, and all pissed off because he knows the lyrics.
They're so bad, but then there's others that I didn't even know. Like you mentioned Creed, that was actually news to me. Honestly, I didn't know that either.
Really?
I really didn't.
Oh God, their lyrics.
You'll notice next time you see them.
I don't really listen to a lot of Creed either, so there's.
He's over deleting playlists on his computer right now.
There was one song, that first big song that they had. If you go back and listen to that,
is that the AEIOU band? I don't want to be with you. Who is that? Them or is that?
Yeah, and it's Jesus they want to be with. No.
Okay, because
was that them? I don't even know the song.
I think it was them, but it was just I only know that because it was in fucking Ted, and Ted says they only speak in vowels. AEIOU. And it was fucking money. I love Seth MacFarlane. I think it's hilarious. So that's I only knew maybe one or two songs from them, but Skillet is one that is apparently a Christian band, but they're never
The one that pisses me off the most, the Christian bands that got mainstream play, was Flyleaf, because she had that fucking song about a fake thing that happened during the Columbine shooting, where the song was about they said that the killers went down, and they said, "Do you believe in God?" And if they said no, they would kill them.
I heard that,
but that was bullshit. That didn't actually happen.
Right.
Instead, somebody was just going, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," and then they got killed. And then fucking this stupid fucking band made a song about a false. Is that
where they came from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, when I was a kid, I was gifted with some nice Christian rock, sir. They gave me the Newsboys album.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
no, they split it up. They split it up though. My brother got the DC Talk album.
Okay.
So that was our fucking childhood. Like that was our Christmas gift.
When we get to watching God's Not Dead 3, you can listen to some more Newsboys than that. They sing,
Are they back? Are they
sing-
still a thing?
They sing the title songs and all those. The God's Not Dead songs.
I thought they
that's all
died
them.
away like back in 1990, whatever. Like I didn't think they.
No, these movies and bands are still there because like they have a built-in audience. Like it doesn't matter how shitty they are. They still will get people to show up because they have to, because what else are they going to do? See some good music that's secular? Can't do that.
You know, I may get shit on for this. I don't even care. I like Skillet's music.
I can't really remember Skillet.
Here we go, though. So the song I was thinking of is My Own Prison by Creed.
Okay, I know the song.
Yeah, this part right here. I hear a thunder in the distance, see a vision of a cross. I feel the pain that was given on that sad day of loss. A lion roars in the darkness, only he holds the key. A light to free me from my burden and grant me life eternally. Nobody fucking knew that was in there. Everybody loved those songs, and we're singing them all the time, but nobody paid attention to the lyrics to realize he's fucking talking about God.
That was his whole plot, and look at it.
He got us.
It colonized you.
Fucking roped us in, and then fucking I got you, bitches. No, I went to, so I was in San Antonio back in 2013, and we went to visit Texas, and fucking Skillet was there, and that they drew a fucking crowd, sir. Like, at Six Flags, oddly enough, but apparently they had this big auditorium or
Skillet was there around that same time as
was it though?
Too,
so like I didn't even know. Like I came into, so this is when I was working in Athens. I was a manager there, and this is right after like I was like, fuck it, I'm an atheist. Like I had already been coming to the meetup. No, I hadn't been going to the meetups yet. This is just before then. This is like I Reddited my way because that's when our atheism was a default subreddit. So I was, you know, I'd been questioning my faith at the time, or questioning my beliefs, as it were, and I pretty much got memed into atheism because it's fucking they showed logical fallacies really, really well with, you know, through imagery and you know, scripture and things like that, and how it's contradictory, and just it was persuasive. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. You know, got me thinking. So then I went to Athens. And that's when, like, I started getting into like debates with the people there because they're like, "Oh, you don't believe in God?" I'm like, "No, I don't." You know, I was listening. I was an hour drive there, hour and a drive back. I'm listening to Atheist Experience there, Atheist Experience back. It's an hour episode each, and listen to Matt Dillahunty. Like those prime
Seth
time.
Andrews was the one I listened to a lot.
And then you snuck in some Skillet.
But then I'm like humming the song, like, because I didn't know, and then they're all like, Jesus music. I'm like, what? Like I had no clue. Like they gave me so much shit about it.
But how long ago was that?
That was 2012, 2013.
Yeah, no, it was already like very public knowledge that Skillet was Christian music. How the fuck did you not know?
Because I don't like read up on bands that I didn't even know existed. It showed up because I was listening to Pandora. I was like, oh, I was listening to like fucking, I'm gonna get shit on again, Disturbed radio, and all of a sudden Pandora's like,
he was Jewish.
I still like Disturbed. I don't care. But then I'm listening to Pandora, and all of a sudden, like, Skillet comes on. I'm like, that's all right. That's back when I was running a lot, so I'd use that music to jog to, and so that music. So I just like, hey, I kind of like Skillet. I knew nothing about them whatsoever. And then I go into the branch, and I'm like, you know, singing, "I'm awake." I was like, yeah, that's Jesus shit. I'm like, oh, wait, fuck, you're right. Like when you think, but it's not. It's subtle. Uh-huh. It's not like, you know, they don't. I haven't seen the word cross or Jesus.
Well, they did lose the culture wars, so. You don't see mainstream Christianity in modern culture so much anymore. In media,
at least
in
music,
media, in mainstream, in music, movies, mainstream Christianity is not in mainstream culture.
So they gotta hide it a little bit. Gotta make it subtle.
They lost the culture wars.
No, they make their. I mean, God's Not Dead 3. That's not mainstream.
None of them were either. None of them were ever mainstream. That was just to get church groups to take their entire church by the busload to go fucking fund this movie or to pack the theaters. I know they took.
God, I can't wait.
They took the churches when the fucking. That's gonna be a fun one. I'm not doing it sober. I will say that, but I will watch it because
that's a good Christmas treat. Skip this one. It's been Christmas watching.
But I remember like the church went to go see fucking Passion. Passion of the Christ with back when I was that was circa 2000. I want to say 3 or 4, and I was in Berea College, which I didn't know, which is apparently a Jesus-y school.
Probably about
4 or
2004.
5.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking my kid was.
I was
born
there
around
between
that
2003
time.
and 2005, so that does track.
Yeah.
2004 is probably closer to when it actually came out. But yeah, so I went to this, and that's kind of where I became an atheist too. Was at this college whose slogan was "God is made of one blood, all." It actually says all men of the earth, but they wanted to be all inclusive, so they changed it to all peoples of the earth. I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. Like the actual scripture, they changed. Like they changed scripture, it's fine, but just to be more gender inclusive when it's only men and female, but when it comes to other genders and everything else, they don't give a fuck about, because like science only matters when it matches the Bible, even though fucking Bible is completely science illiterate.
When it serves them.
Yeah, it's always when it serves them.
Which is hardly ever.
Are you saying they cherry pick and shit?
No, you know what? surely they don't do that.
I got into a fight with a Christian online earlier today that was trying to say the reason marriage aren't together is because God's not a part of marriage anymore. And I was like, you're a patriarchal piece of shit or something or other.
Wait, God's not part of marriage anymore?
God's not part of people's marriage, and that's why they're falling apart. They need to center their marriage around God. And then I was like, well, you're a patriarchal piece of shit. And then he tried to get off subject, but, that's the thing. God first, then the man, then the woman.
In houses where there's a lot of abuse.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why Christianity draws, certain men. I think they like it because it tells women to be in their place.
It's valid. They're to remain silent. They're to be submissive to their husbands, as the man is submissive to Christ, or the man is the head of the household, just as Christ is the head of the church. Like they have very specific instructions on how women are not equal and are to be obedient. And so men, I see men who could be drawn to that.
So talking to a really, really shitty right winger, and they were talking about girls they're meeting, and these girls were all like they had fucking issues, right? Like major issues, and I was pointing them out. I'm like, dude, like, this girl's fucking broken. Like, you need to, like, she doesn't need to be dating, and you definitely don't need to date her. And his response was, yeah, I like that she's broken.
What?
That's
he
what
likes damaged women?
Yes, he liked damaged women.
Why is that a trend? Because, you got me into this group, this fucking I'm a rando on Tinder and these are my demands group, which is fucking money.
It's a great group.
It's a Facebook group where people just screenshot basically profiles.
The best of Tinder.
And it really is 95% men.
Yes.
Which is really cringy to be a man. Like, why am I part of this gender? Because you see how cringy these people really fucking are. They're like, hi, the 2 words in, hey, you want to see my dick? Like it really is that quick. But then there's so many profiles where they're looking for broken or damaged women. Like, what the fuck what is that?
Because
easy to control.
They're more susceptible to abuse.
You've been beaten before. You know what this
well,
is.
it is. You're broken. They're going to be more likely to be codependent. Once you get somebody in a codependent situation, they are vulnerable and they're dependent on you, or less they believe they are, whether financially, emotionally, or whatever. And so once you get to the point of bringing the abuse in,
they're less likely
they're
to leave.
dependent. I can't leave. I'm stuck here. So those women are preyed upon by these shitty ass men,
and probably also because to serve their sexual needs, because they'll feel like they need to do so.
There's some of that, but I mean, I know of abusive situations where the sex wasn't even involved. It's all about just having somebody to control. Most of the time, the guys are out fucking somebody else and not having sex with the woman.
Yeah, I just noticed that in the majority of these cases, and it may just be like who the people in the group are more likely to screenshot, but they tend to be more like sex driven people that's their only primary. Now, of course, that's also online dating. Read
the comments, because in the comments you'll see people calling out like the red flags in a lot of the profiles.
I've seen that as well, but
red flags in the profiles.
Oh yeah, there's very blatant things they say, like that trigger, like, that would be like, yeah, stay away from this person because of X or Y.
Yeah, I mean, you get Nazi profiles where they have dog whistles in there, and those are the ones that I'm often I'm like, translation, but there's a lot of, like, when you, especially if you've been in an abusive situation, you can recognize the patterns that are there in a lot of abuse situations. When you see certain things on profile, certain wordings or certain looking fors, you're like, I know what that means. Because it's dog whistles. It's the same thing, only I don't think it's as planned out as with the Nazis and their dog whistles. But there are certain wordings that a lot of abusers use, and
you know what? That's kind of funny you brought that up, because a few years back, I was had a Tinder hookup, went to her place, and as I walked in, there was a huge Soviet banner on the wall. I was like, that's a huge fucking red flag.
That's a green flag right there.
I couldn't resist the joke. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so like I noticed my mom's narcissist. So when I figured out she was narcissist, I was joining groups with people with narcissistic mothers, and there were things that all of our moms said. Like there'd be a message
patterns
that popped up. Like, somebody would get a text message, and I'd be reading it. I'm like, how the fuck did they get a copy of a message my mom sent me? It's the exact fucking wording. The big things we heard was, all you have is family. Like, encouraging relationships outside of a family unit didn't happen. And like they don't happen. They're discouraged.
Yeah.
You can't trust anybody else. All you have is your family. That's who's going to be there for you if anything ever happens. And it's usually not the case. They're the first ones to fuck you over. But yeah, so a lot of the times in the comments, you'll see people who finally recognize their abuse, recognizing the language of abusers.
Then you also have a lot of the self-deprecating men who are just like,
Yeah, you have those. But those are often abusive as well. There's a lot of emotional. When you see that's emotional abuse. It's going to end up being another codependent relationship where you can't leave him because he's too broken.
I just didn't realize how cringy like the dating scene, online dating scene, really is for women, because
it's horrible.
I mean, people say the online dating scene, like, those are the same people in the real world.
Yeah,
it's no different than what's out there. It's just in front of you right now.
Because they don't have their last name. Like, they think they'd be more anonymous in how they respond and how they treat people because it's not in person.
It's because what I tell women that say they have bad time dating people online is because there's no accountability with the people online because they don't know, like, their lives. Like, if somebody tries to date someone in our social group or tries to date someone in, like, Knoxville is small. If you fuck someone over, everyone hears about it. There's accountability. So that's why on dating, online dating, if they aren't connected to anyone that you know, they can fuck you over and leave. That's where it is. Like,
well,
but
I mean,
if it's
even outside of the dating world, like, I went into Taco Bell the other day to pick up an order, and the girl making the food comes to the front to, like, collect a payment from somebody, and he's like, "What's your name? How old are you?" And he, like, starts flirting with her, and then next thing I hear is, "Do you have a boyfriend?" She's like, "Yeah, actually, I do." If he would have kept going after that, I probably would have been like, "Dude."
The guy behind the counter was trying to pick up the employee?
the man was the...
Oh, the man was the guy trying to get his tacos and a taco.
But, like, if he would have kept going, I would have been like, "Dude, man, she's just trying to fucking work. The last thing she fucking wants to deal with is you hitting on her."
I mean,
like,
I have a friend of mine that his longtime girlfriend now, he picked her up at a drive-through window, so...
But that is
love happens sometimes.
That is a common trope, though, in the service industry. I mean, I work with a bunch of females in the banks, and unfortunately, like, a lot of men take any kind of, like, what they think is just kindness, just normal kindness in customer service as flirting with them. And, like, I've had to
those guys are also losers that are so starved for attention that they cling on to any they get.
So I used to work at a hotel, and one of the, like, worst experience I had was, guy came in, he had, like, an Australian accent or something. And he's older, probably 50s. I'm, at the time, probably like early 30s. And he's like kind of flirting with me at the front desk. I'm trying to get him to his room as soon as possible. If I can get him to his room, 15 minutes goes by and he calls up and he's like, my TV's not working. Can you come check, make sure? And I'm working third shift.
So 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.?
Yeah, so there's no maintenance there.
Right.
We have to go, and like I'm the
You're
only
the only
person
person
there.
that should be in the building.
Yes, I'm the only person there. So I have to go up and check this man's TV. He opens the door, puts his arm against the frame and said, fancy a drink?
No.
I'm like, I'm just here to fix your fucking TV, man.
Was there anything wrong with it, or was it just a trope to get you up there?
He just wanted me to get me up to his room. And
unfortunately,
I think I went up there. I had called my manager, who is a close friend of mine, and still is a close friend of mine today. I had called her before heading over there. I was like, hey, this is going on. I want you on the phone with me while I walk over there.
Right.
And so I kept the phone down. He could probably see it was on, like that, connected to somebody, but so nothing happened. But Jesus, fuck, what is wrong with people?
Well, unfortunately, that works sometimes. They'll get the hotel person to sleep with them. A lot.
Keep your personal experiences out of the show, Dustin.
I didn't say anything that would have outed myself or anyone I knew or know. I just said sometimes it works.
No, it did not work for me. I thought it was fucking disgusting.
Step 1, be attractive. Step 2,
1, don't be unattractive. Don't be unattractive.
No, man, I've actively worked hard to not be attractive to those type of people. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you fucking have breast on your chest. Somebody's gonna make inappropriate fucking comments to you. It is
a trope that like they really do perceive even just kindness. They perceive that as they're attracted to me.
Yes.
Holy shit! And it's kind of it's super embarrassing.
That's because they don't get it. Because they don't get it. So any little breadcrumb they get, they're going to latch onto because they're not used to getting praise. So any little bit of praise they get, it's the one person who's nice to them because people aren't, because they're probably a piece of shit and they're probably don't take care of themselves, so they look like trash. But
they don't stop it. But rejection doesn't stop them. They they'll keep pressing and keep pressing.
No.
That's because men are taught too by the fucking pickup artists.
That are really are actually attractive. They carry themselves well. It's just their personality that is fucking disgusting, and that's the sole reason they can't get dates. It's nothing about like them not taking care of themselves properly or anything like that. They'll be clean cut, dressed nice. It's just their fucking personalities are gross.
This is what the pickup artists teach them. Like, if you've ever seen some of the disgusting shit that people like Roche V and those type of people, that's what they teach them. Like, that's how you have
perseverance.
Perseverance.
You got to break that wall down.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's just part of toxic masculinity. Is just another part of that.
Yeah, that's like when those losers don't know how to get laid and they don't know how to approach women,
and they do it awkwardly too and badly.
UT had a football coach a few years ago, older guy. Do either of you know his name?
I don't keep up with that
Fillmore?
shit.
No, it
Lane
was before
Kiffin?
him.
No, before him.
He's an old guy now, but he used to come and get a hotel for a day and always brought like a box up there to him. Never saw him after he checked in. But when he was checking in, he made some really fucking gross and inappropriate comments almost every single time. To the point where I stopped being the one to check him in. I'm like, no, I'm not fucking dealing with this gross ass. Like,
but it's also like people who perceive themselves to be in power also have a bigger problem with that too. Like people who think that they have like that if they're a public figure, that's kind of the whole Me Too movement.
Yeah,
it was a direct result of people,
and that's what he is. Like a lot of people would.
He's like,
probably
notice
grovel.
me. You know who I am.
And then there's me who like. I don't give a shit about you in any way, shape, or form. Like, I'm just here to do my fucking job, and you're making inappropriate comments. Like, gross.
But the worst part is that when, and I've seen it even online, or when people are communicating either online and even in person, when they rejection is not something that toxic men can fucking handle. They respond and lash out harshly. It's kind of the incel thing is part of that as well.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh, well, you know, I've seen some people, you know, they can, like, oh, well, it didn't work out. That's great. Other people are like, well, fuck you, you slut. Yeah. You know, you're a fucking bitch anyway. It's like they can't handle it.
You're ugly. I didn't want to sleep with your fat ass anyway.
Right.
I've seen so many variations
because they can't take that they're not the most perfect thing of God's creation themselves. It's got to be a problem with the person. And I mean, it's like they could be like worshiping their feet for 10 minutes. All of a sudden they get turned. No, I don't want to. No, we're not going to sleep together. Well, fuck you. You're ugly anyways. I didn't want to fuck you in the first place.
I've seen guys go off on girls for not having their relationship status in their profile.
What?
So when they get like these messages from them, they're like, oh, I have a boyfriend. It's not on your profile. And then they start acting like they're lying to them and they misled them and they did all of this shit. I've seen some really fucked up shit from men.
So the whole point of this whole conversation is I'm super embarrassed to be a man a lot because of this fucking group you got me in. Because it's like day after day I'm scrolling like, God, what a piece of shit. God, are we
anytime a man tries to talk to a woman, you're like, wait.
Stop what you're doing. You're gonna do it wrong.
There's a lot of times when I'm out, like, because I go to restaurants and businesses and I have to just stand there, and a lot of times I'm listening to conversations going around me, and there's a lot of times that I have my phone, I'm acting like I'm not paying attention, but I'm on alert for someone doing some fucked up shit. And a lot of times it's men talking to women. I will say, women are getting much better at shutting the men down without a whole lot of public confrontation than it was 10, 15 years ago. And I think it's a lot to do with these groups because they realize they're not alone in this, and they're and a lot of
the feedback too will help recognize the things they wouldn't have seen as red flags or other things to stay away from as well. But also, like if they see, because there's also how people respond back to them, and that kind of empowers them. Like, well, if she can, shut them down like that and just shit on them and not be afraid to use harsh words to counteract the harsh. Like the interactions, then why can't I do the same? So it may be empowering to have
that, and I think also that there's eyes in public. People are realizing that there are eyes all around you in public, which make men kind of react differently at times. Everybody has a fucking phone on them. So, and like I definitely think a lot of women are more empowered now, but men are less empowered. They don't have the security of knowing they can get away with the bullshit.
Yeah.
So they can in private message and on Tinder and shit like that, but in public, they not as much.
Do you think is the group more, screenshots mainly male interactions because majority of women are the ones submitting those, or is it because like there's just not that many toxic women? Because I know there's like I know there's the double. I know it's the double standard.
There's plenty of toxic.
I know there are.
I know
there's plenty of toxic, but I think the group that we're particularly in is just predominantly. Male. I know the only thing I've seen from toxic women is mainly like the double standard thing.
Oh no! Well,
the height thing
women will try to scam you out of money, where men will try to show you dick pics.
That's what a lot of it is the women are like trying to sell that. And the other thing is that the men who want to put women in there in the group, they're not looking at like the demands. They're looking at, is this girl pregnant? Oh, she's looking for somebody else to raise her baby, and they're throwing that in there. And so, like, it's degrading the single mom. Most of the submissions by men in that group are more as a way of degrading women and putting down women rather than looking at the behavior, or the pattern of behavior in men and what they're doing.
I mean, now, Tinder's also not a place that you should be pushing your OnlyFans either. There's other places to do that. People are trying to get there to be like, oh, hi, you want to go on a date? They're like, no, pay me money. And you're like, that's not why I matched with you. You didn't say anything
here's
in
my
your
premium
profile.
Snapchat. Yeah. But so like now on Reddit, our Tinder, that's kind of more of a mix of toxicity on both ends of the spectrum. But then again, most of that's just like women who are like, I want tall men. And then he's like, cool, what's your weight? You can't ask me what my weight is. And that's pretty much the only thing there on that one.
Well, I mean, I think there's kind of a difference between weight and height.
Oh, there is.
No, I know. I definitely know women who will just walk away from a guy that's not 6 feet tall.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's real. That's really real. I know multiple women actually that will if a guy even lies about it, they show up and he's shorter. They will.
I get having a preference. I mean,
So being trans, one of the things that I'm not so sure about ever going full male is the fact that I'm 5 feet tall. Like, I hate to say it. I know the shit short men get, and I'm like, fuck, man. But, like, I'll never get laid again.
Yeah, see, that's usually as far as women go. That's the most shallow women are with height.
So some are looking for money.
Yeah.
But but some are looking for stability, and that gets looked at as they're just looking for money. When there are some that actually, when they say stability, they don't care like how shitty the house is. They want the family. They want a home with somebody.
Okay.
But when it's unequal to how stable they are, if they want someone more stable than them to pull them up from their situation.
You're not going to find a lot of stable people on Tinder.
Yeah, well, I mean, either side. I mean, to be honest, you're not going to find a lot of stable people, period.
That's valid.
I mean,
Exactly. It's the same people online are the same people in the real world. They're actual people. It's not like they only exist in an online space. They magically show up to go to your fucking hookup, and then they disappear back into the metaverse on Facebook.
As catfishing, because you could be a different sex or whatever on that one. Oh, I hope it just fails tragically. I don't want to have to deal with that. Probably just avoid it entirely.
Yeah, I'll just go on VR chat and jerk off with a bunch of cat girls like I've been doing.
Jesus Christ. Sam's like, oh, it's 8 p.m. time to go jerk off with cat girls. You failed no river already, sir.
That's not going to happen on Metaverse, I can tell you that. That's where they're going to lose.
let's talk about that bitch-ass Rittenhouse.
Oh, the memes. Lisa, it's unfortunate that the only thing we're going to get out of this are memes. We're not going to get a conviction at this point.
No, well, I said that last week. I knew going in there was no way.
This week proved that even more, though. This week showcased that even more.
Well, apparently today they went over. So I'm sure everybody fucking knows they put fucking Rittenhouse on the stand,
which is uncommon.
Yes, for self-defense. It's usually he had to have insisted. He had to have insisted.
Why?
Because the defense masterfully crafted him to put on that fucking facade of a performance of his fake bullshit cry fest.
He let out one tear as he sobbed uncontrollably.
The faces he made while he, and I'm air quote, sobbed uncontrollably, because you don't hyperventilate like that fucking much and squint your eyes that hard while looking over at the jury and the judge like, you guys see me crying really hard, right?
I've compared it to a preschooler
that
who's
falls,
fake, like anything happens, they'll fake cry, and then they'll kind of like look around out of the corner of their eye to see if anybody's like reacting to them crying, and then continue crying, and that's exactly what he was fucking doing.
But what also kind of played, and I had to say this, what plays into his favor and what you and I call a very punchable face, is that it's also a very baby-like face, and where he looks extremely young, and that's going to play into the jurors' minds.
With him going on the stand, though, prosecution could cross-examine. I was listening to Court TV on XM over on the way over here, and that could sway things because it puts into question his credibility. And they did, because they showed the interview of him telling somebody he was a trained EMT on like some interview, and he's not an EMT. He's not trained. So like that right there could, like, there were other things too. That was just the biggest one. So they're saying like his credibility may be used against them now. So we'll see. I don't think he's going to get a conviction though.
No, it's all up to but it's not just the prosecution is just tanking this.
Yeah.
You didn't. I guarantee you didn't click on the video that I sent, and I wish you had because I know you had chimed in and just went on a fucking rant. So I'm gonna do it now for you. I swear to fuck, Sam, the prosecutor gets Rittenhouse on the stand and starts questioning him about him playing Call of Duty.
Okay.
Yeah,
was it your intention to play this while playing Call of Duty to kill other players? I swear to fuck is a real question the prosecution asked Kyle Rittenhouse.
This is a fucking kangaroo court. All of it. This is a fucking joke.
It really is. I got into a debate on my page where I said Rittenhouse is getting off.
It may even be a missed fucking trial because
It should be a mistrial.
The prosecution has already violated his
the judge is biased. There's so much about this that it should be.
The judge's bias is fucking stupid. So another thing I saw today. Now I put out an article. I pushed out an article. And then kind of retracted, but then I saw the actual live footage, so I'm going to talk about it. And if I get schooled by Opening Arguments podcast tomorrow, so be it. But here's what happened. The prosecution wanted to present evidence of some sort of video, and they were going to use the iPad, and they were going to pinch to zoom on it. And the defense said that by using the pinch to zoom feature, Apple's AI generates different pixels, so it alters the image. And the judge allowed that and said it's up to the prosecution to prove that it didn't do that.
Did they have to do it on the spot? Because you think a Google search would help them with that?
They can't just do a Google search. You have to have experts, forensic experts, and people who he admitted he didn't know the difference between a logarithm and an algorithm, and the judge said as much as well, and yet still put the onus. Which the judge keeps doing, and again, because this is a self-defense case in Wisconsin, the onus is on the prosecution to prove that it wasn't self-defense. But now it's on, even though the defense raised the claim that the image is altered by the AI, the prosecution had to prove that it wasn't.
So what I was saying earlier, a friend got on my post that was talking about he's gonna he's not gonna be convicted. And she's like, well, I've watched the trial, and I went into this thinking, He's guilty of this, but I have a completely different view on it all now. I think it was self-defense, and I had, somebody else. I was trying to think of how to word it, and I finally got the right wording afterwards, where when you're in court, the job of prosecution and the defense is to paint a picture for you. They're painting a picture to the jury.
Because the jury are the fact finders.
Right. But the judge has a lot of say in what picture is being painted or how these pictures can be painted because he gets the final say on what evidence is allowed. He gets the say on what language is allowed. Like the Unite the Right trial right now, there's only certain times when the terms Nazi, white supremacist, white nationalist can be used. Rittenhouse, there's, limitations on when the words victim, rioters, looters,
right.
So the language, the evidence, there is so much that the judge, who can be biased, is biased in this situation. They can decide what the prosecutors or defense can use to paint the picture. So when people say, I watched this entire trial, I've seen all the evidence. No, you have not. Because there was a judge sitting there who decided what you got to see.
And how and what manner you got to see it. So
right.
They're directing the artist on how that picture is going to be presented to you.
Right. And then there's also the situation of, we know, there's the Innocence Project who has gotten, I don't know how many, it's at least several hundred people out of prison or off death row, I think. It's actually death row.
We discussed them a lot on this is going way back. This is episode 13, Free Parvis Payne.
Right. Okay, so we've discussed Innocent Projects on the show before. They get people off of death row who were innocent. With the new evidence, they get innocence. But if there's people who are in prison who are not guilty, then there are definitely people, because of trial, how those pictures were presented, were guilty, who walked away from prison.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it goes both ways. It's not just innocent people going to prison. It's guilty people getting off as well.
This is an extremely high-profile case because Kyle Rittenhouse has become a right-wing either hero or if he gets convicted, which is not going to happen.
Martyr.
He will be a martyr because there's no. This is a lose-lose.
Well, I mean, James Field is a right-wing martyr. Like I was talking about the Unite the Right, Christopher Cantwell. It's like an innocent man is in prison. I believe Matthew Heimbach on the stand said he believed James Field was innocent and that he should not be in prison. He's a martyr. Dylan Roof is a martyr in their eyes.
So we know there's not going to be a conviction, but let's just hypothetically say there is going to be the case. That's when he becomes a martyr. But what's ultimately going to happen? He's going to walk. He may get a slap on the wrist for the having the firearm being under 17. It's going to be a slap on the wrist. I don't see major prison time for Kyle Rittenhouse, but I think that also may bolster more people to show up at those events with weapons because...
It is.
And here's the argument that you have been making and that I've been kind of echoing when people talk to me about it is the but for, right? So the killings were but for he had not been there with that weapon in that high... it was a high-tension environment. These places have always been. But when you're open carrying and then, he's holding his firearm at the ready in several instances, that's going to bring tension high because now he becomes a threat because he can immediately and very quickly become an active shooter. Mm-hmm. And so, but for him being there with that weapon, had he not been there with that weapon, I don't see any kind of aggression or any kind of action towards him. Or anything like that.
The original conflict was over his gun and him putting it in the ready position. That's what made Rosenbaum say, shoot me. He put the N-word on there too, but he, like the full thing, he's like, shoot me. Like, shoot me. Right. And it's because Rittenhouse had his gun in the ready position. And so that cued to this guy that Rittenhouse was ready to shoot him. So he's like, fucking shoot me. The whole entire conflict was over Rittenhouse and his gun. Had that gun not been there, nothing else would have happened.
Right. I think just because it's I'm not going to lie to you. If I'm in a high tension, because they're again protesting more police violence against unarmed black people. Black men, more specifically, in a lot of these cases who are being gunned down, especially this is back in 2020. This is last year. This is the second or third incident where a black man, unarmed, was shot and killed by police. Mm-hmm. And
that year,
just
that high profile.
High profile. I'm just saying, just that year alone. But if I'm there and I'm protesting, and I know that there are people there who are there to, and I'm going to air quote here, protect property. But they're standing there with a very high-powered, high-capacity weapon. Like I'm gonna be nervous as shit. Like it's gonna raise tensions.
I go out to these protests. I remember one of the George Floyd protests last year. We had some boog boys show up with their rifles. None of us had our fucking weapons. None of us. Nobody. We do not come
concealed?
Armed. Well, there may have been some. I didn't see. Nobody saw any fucking. It's typical in Knox County or the Knoxville protests. I don't think many people. Well, prior to this,
right? Okay.
It was not an armed situation. Prior to that, I've never seen. I've gone to so many protests here. I've never seen any of the protesters with guns until that fucking night, and it was Boog Boys. And they said that they were actually on our side, and they are against government overreach and police killing citizens. It shows the government overreach. They tried everything to convince us, and I remember a few of us, before the next protest, we sat down with them just to find out what their views are and stuff. But they didn't come back to protest. They understood that their presence made people really fucking uncomfortable.
Right, absolutely.
So they just didn't come. So if they agreed with us, like, they just realized this is not our place. Now, after Rittenhouse, I started seeing guns at protests. And there are some protests that I carried a gun to. Louisville especially, when I was up there, because there were going to be armed protesters. And I don't think any of us want to feel the need that we have to have a gun.
Right.
Where their side is like, fuck yes, let's get our guns and go down there. Because when they're seeing media footage, they're not seeing a bunch of people, prior to Rittenhouse, a bunch of people with fucking rifles at these protests. They brought those. And so when you come at unarmed people who are primarily unarmed, aggressing or expressing their anger at a situation, and you show up with guns, you're making them feel threatened. And at that point, their response is, well, I need to be able to defend myself. I need to bring a gun as well. And that's I mean, I've been to some protests in Louisville where, one time I'm up there and you don't see guns around. Next time I go up there and everybody's fucking armed because these fucking right-wingers said that they're coming armed.
Right, and it may, with his acquittal, if he walks, it may even bolster that even more. If
I hear Kenosha's already in the streets.
Why is no one talking about his mom chauffeuring him there? What kind of sociopath is this bitch, too? It's come from a whole household full of idiots.
Chauffeuring her there, dude. So the gun supposedly was held at the friend's house.
Okay, so he wasn't in the passenger seat of the car.
No.
Okay.
That's everybody's story. Is that the gun was held at the friend's house who lived in Illinois. That's why there can't be federal charges there. If that's the case, then fucking teenagers, you do not know everything that's going on with the teenager. He could have said, Mom, I want to go see my friend, whatever that little fucking shit's name is. And she's like, okay, I'll drop you off at his house. She may not have known that that's what he was going to do. Now, I say that having not watched any of the court things. I've been watching listening to Unite the Right. So I don't know what's come out in court, if she did know, if she was support. I don't know any of that. But there is, as a parent to a 16-year-old child, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything my kid's doing, and she may not have either.
But in regards to him having the weapon and being there, when he was on cross, when the prosecution was cross-examining Kyle Rittenhouse on the stands, that's kind of where the only moment I saw that he kind of tanked his, he was not prepared to answer the questions of why he felt the need to be armed in those instances. I don't think it was enough to sway the jury, but the defense has done a wonderful job of crafting his defense and making that the whole cry fest was just a show that he did to make him seem more human, because they wouldn't know, because the judge wouldn't.
Oh yes, he looked very human.
No, well, it's much more he's not just some cold-blooded killer. So that was massively.
He was showing real emotions.
It was not real. No. Now whether the jury buys it or not, but that was the whole goal of that.
Well,
but it made him look also because
our comrades in the meme fields have been pushing out the propaganda. Nobody buys that shit.
Well, unfortunately, whether those memes reach the jury or change their minds, but that's just one. That's just one aspect of it.
Public opinion and people talking about shit is huge too. If he walks, everyone's gonna know that it was fucking kangaroo court.
This whole case has just been a complete shit show. The prosecutor, I don't think, has ever had to face a situation that wasn't either a plea deal or a public defender. He's getting slapped on the wrist so many times for.
Did you play Call of Duty?
I swear to fuck, he asked about him playing Call of Duty, and
I'm sure that went well.
It was even Kyle Rittenhouse was I had to. I would be just like him. It's a game, man. He didn't say how many. 75 million people play these games. It was the dumbest line of questioning I had ever fucking heard in my life.
Maybe he was going for
what are you going for?
He was going for the Chewbacca defense, and it didn't
obviously
work.
You play a game and shoot people, and that's your goal. So that was your goal here, right?
He must be a Hillary Clinton supporter. She attacked video games in the 90s, said a bunch of stupid shit like that.
Jesus Christ, man! It was the cringiest thing. It was actually posted to Cringetopia on Reddit. That's how fucking cringe his line of questioning was. And it's just been a shit show. He's probably tanked his whole career. And I don't know if it was intentional or if he's just fucking doesn't know
He's
how
like,
to respond.
I'm going to go with the Call of Duty defense. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
It really was, dude. It was so bad. So,
that's right. You got me. I play Call of Duty because I want to murder people, and I went out there to murder people for real. It was all training. It was training to murder Antifa.
He's like, is it in fact not your goal to, while playing Call of Duty, to intentionally and shoot and kill other players? He's like,
they spawn back in 5 seconds, bro. My goal's actually to pick up a flag and move it over here. That's all I'm doing.
So, like, the whole thing's been a complete sham of a trial. It could very well end in a mistrial before this whole thing ends. I mean, the defense has already called for it. But either way...
So, they've called for a mistrial with prejudice, right? Meaning it can't be retried?
I don't know they can do that, though.
Yeah, there's with prejudice or without prejudice.
Right, I knew that.
If it's with prejudice, which, I mean, they can ask for it. If it's with prejudice, yeah, he can't be retried. If it's without prejudice, they can the prosecution can do it all over again.
Doesn't matter. It's a sham of a fucking trial. We're not going to see a conviction here in the manner that we want. I guess we've made that very clear over the past few episodes.
Not happening. He's a little bitch. So what do you think he's going to do afterwards? Is he going to go host Fox News, or is he going to become a cop and kill again?
Yeah, I think he's going to go on tour as being a piece of shit until someone finally fucking pops
This
him.
little fucker has idolized police for a long time. He was in all these junior cop programs. I think there's a high probability that he goes into law enforcement and he'll kill again.
It's probably the only avenue he can do right now because
he has a whole field with fucking being on Fox News. He's not.
He's not. We've already determined he's not an actor. Okay, he cannot be on screen to take direction.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
actually,
he cannot give a speech.
He can't. And his notoriety, a lot of places won't want to fucking touch him. But I think the police,
the extreme right wingers.
Sure,
they're gonna love him.
But that's kind of that's kind of like a niche market for far right things only. Like, what's he gonna do? Go to be a producer on?
They make fucking money.
Yeah.
Fucking Richard Spencer had lived very comfortable.
He was live on just donations alone.
He did. He said
he'll start his own damn podcast. Probably.
I was listening. Richard Spencer. I was listening to.
Yeah, where's ours?
During the Unite the Right trial, they asked Richard Spencer, who's living affluently. He's living well off, in fucking I think London or some shit. And they ask him what his source of income is, and he's like, donations. Right wingers will fucking give these motherfuckers comfortable lives.
He's gonna start his OnlyFans. Is that what he's gonna do?
He doesn't even need that.
It was a joke. Come on.
All he has to do is just be there, and people will send him money because they idolize him. He killed us, and that makes him worth them sending their fucking money to.
He's the poster child for Pro 2A movement.
He got away with what so many other people want to do.
Yeah.
And he's going to be rewarded until he goes out in public. So he needs to make as much money to make him not have to leave the house. If he does leave the house, he can hire security, because if he doesn't, something's going to fucking happen to him.
He does have an extremely punchable face. I mean, and with his notoriety, and there'll be someone who's going to be, pissed.
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but
with his record, you would be justified in court for feeling that you were in self-defense to shoot him first.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair though, man, the Gage blew. Either Gage wasn't properly prepped.
He wasn't properly prepped by prosecution, because prosecution is fucking throwing this.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I mean, he basically handed, because he was supposed to be their star. Obviously, the only person shot that's still alive, but he basically handed the defense a win with his test with when the defense crossed him. Basically, handed him the fucking win.
But I mean.
But you can't really fault the
Gage didn't pull the trigger. At the time, I think it's relevant that at the time Gage was under the impression that this is an active shooter. Does an active fucking shooter get self-defense? You know, if you go into a school with a gun and you're shooting people, and a teacher comes out with a gun, which shouldn't fucking happen, or the resource officer comes out with their gun, it can't be the resource officer, say a teacher had a gun, and pointed the gun at the active shooter, does that active shooter get to claim self-defense?
Right.
So if the first fucking shooting isn't self-defense, then none after that can be.
Right, and so you actually bring up a very good point, and that's where the prosecution failed, because when the defense had him up there and they had him answer very direct questions, you know, is it true that this happened? Is it true that you didn't get shot until you did this? Is it true? But that the prosecution didn't recross and say, for what reason did you feel to need to bring your gun? And then because they didn't prep him to say, I thought there was an active shooter. I fully believed that this was an active shooter case based on the 2 prior deaths and prior shootings. And I thought my life was in danger.
Gage is saying that in interviews now. And I can tell that this trial is going a lot differently than Unite the Right, because he gave yes answers. Unite the Right, these fucking Nazis are saying, yes, because Antifa's fucking evil and they're violent and they came after us. They're trying to get as much in, so there's this constant, can we strike that? And the judge isn't always allowing that. Gage could have finished it off and said, yes, I pointed my gun because I believed he was an active shooter. And the judge may have stricken everything after, yes, we don't know, but he probably should have tried. And if the prosecutors did their job right, he would have.
Right, because the prosecution would have anticipated those very questions, because they would have reviewed the footage. They would have said, okay, so why did you do this? Why did you do this? You know, they would have anticipated the defense's question, and that was not done. So either the prosecution is like, you know what, I want a career path change, and this is how I'm going to tank my career, or
no, they're not. It's not going to tank their career.
No. I mean, if you've seen his performance on this one, the man sold his whole career.
None of these people are going to face consequences for any of this. It's fine. Everything's fine.
So this week, the House passed the infrastructure bill. There were 13 GOP members. Now, I think AOC and the squad actually voted no on it because they did not also pass or bring up to vote the Build Back Better plan, right, which they were basically banking on that kind of being a combo deal, and so they felt slighted that this is not how this is supposed to happen, because all the progressive policies that they were pushing for just. Probably because of, they anticipate Manchin and fucking cinema. But
the only way they could get the infrastructure bill is to pass was to do the Build Back Better separately.
So they passed the $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan. This is the basically the same kind of bill that Trump had promised during his campaign, that he's going to have a massive infrastructure bill, and failed to even do so. But 13 members of the GOP crossed the line and they voted for this, because these are common sense things, right? We have failing bridges. We know here at was that Memphis, that fucking bridge?
Yeah, down near Memphis.
Right? So things that could be catastrophic. We have bridges, roads, critical infrastructure things and that need to happen. And the GOP just sticks. The GOP, but majority of the GOP was as a fuck you. They're even though they know these are widely popular things, they don't vote for these things. But 13 did, and it pissed off Marjorie Taylor Green so much. What'd she do? She published their fucking numbers?
13 of their phone numbers, yes. All 13, which are public knowledge anyway. But she encouraged people to call. So they've been getting death threats and very vulgar calls.
How dare you fix our fucking roads? What's wrong with you, pieces of shit?
But one of them has forwarded all their incoming calls to Marjorie's office. So she's having to field all those calls, or her secretary.
She's such a garbage human being, but it also kind of espouses that no one in fucking government wants to work together, even though that these things are just because they don't want to. They want to score political points and not fucking take care of the country.
Have any of these 13 voted with her on something or worked with her on something? She's fucking herself. She just made enemies out of people who were potential allies.
That doesn't matter to her because she's gonna get fined for not wearing a mask, but that's about it because she's in a very comfortable, probably gerrymandered district in fucking Georgia, right?
How many Republican senators are there?
Senators, there's 50.
Republican senators.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 split with the. Well,
'Cause
technically,
there's 2 senators
technically it's 52 if we want to count Sinema and fucking Joe Manchin.
Democrats.
Yeah.
But it's a 50. If we want to go with how they label themselves, it's a 50-50 split with Kamala Harris being the tie-breaking vote at 51. So it's an even split right now. But now in the House, it's a very very slim. It's a very very slim majority. And with the
Marjorie's house.
Marjorie's house.
Okay, how many there?
212, I think, or something. I don't have the exact numbers, but that's how I know. That's how many voted. I think for the bill. It passed with it. It did kind of pass with a slim majority,
right?
Because
it had to be pretty slim.
It was pretty slim, but again, these are very widely popular things. No one is voting to improve the country. They're voting to score political points, even though these are the same. This is the same shit that they would have if Trump had passed this same fucking bill. Every one of the GOP would have voted for this. I don't know what the Democrats would do because it's always about you don't want to give the other guy the win, and I understand that's the game.
That
they
wasn't
play,
even a fucking thing until Obama, was it? This whole the
infrastructure thing.
No, just the overall partisanship.
Really.
It all really started with Obama, and then it has escalated.
Really I kind of blame. I think they took their cue from Mitch because Mitch was during that time. Mitch McConnell became the guy who was like, "Let's just do everything we can to fuck with their agenda," and then the House kind of joined the same thing. It's always been like, never let the other guy, even if these things are widely popular things this country needs, the roads we need, the things that bridges, all of our critical infrastructure that fucking bridges go down. We're dealing with what are already transportation shortages in our seaways. Imagine if roads get shut down and our largest shipping is via trucks across the country. That's critical. That's critical shit. And they'd rather score political points by not giving the other guy the win. And it's going to be that way. I mean, Democrats are now doing the same thing. They're playing the same game. Both sides are playing the same game. But
I mean, it's. Fucking Sam said this before. We are in the middle of a fucking cold civil war. That's what this is.
The cycle is not going to break. I think they're going to continue to play and only vote.
I mean, there's a breaking point, but what is the breaking point? That's what we don't know.
What I mean is, I don't see the cycle breaking as in so much as where the majority of the other party will cross the aisle even because it benefits the guy in power.
It fucking can't go on like this forever. It can't. It just fucking can't. There's going to be some kind of break that's going to cause all of these people to get their shit together temporarily to get some basic shit done. Just
no break my whole life. The break is catastrophic.
If you look at history, there's always like these tense points. There's something that breaks. Things may get tenser after a while when
it's going to take something catastrophic, which means bad for the entire American people,
and
that's worse than what we've already put up through in the next couple of years. Like, things are going to get worse before they get better, a big die-off of
there
half
will
the people.
Be a breaking... There has to be a breaking point.
Well,
half
the people are already dying because half of the country is not.
We didn't even talk about how fucking stupid the climate summit was. They're like, so a bunch of cities are going to be underwater in 10 years. So what are we doing to fight this? Nothing. Meh. You think America can get their shit straight? The world leaders can't get shit straight. Literally, they would rather let the world fall into chaos than make fucking billionaires do what they want.
And it's going to, and that's why I think it's really fucking important that people listen to The Worst Year Ever.
That podcast, right?
Yeah, because they kind of hypothesize what'll come after that catastrophic event, and they all throughout it, especially this season of it, it's kind of telling people how to prepare. I live in an apartment fucking 7 minutes. No, probably less than 7 minutes from downtown. small space, fucking stockpiling food isn't a really an option for me. So like it gives suggestions for like different economic levels, different like how you're living, whether you have land or you're in an apartment, on what you can do and a lot of it comes down to like communities and building a community, which I fortunately have. Like, I feel pretty comfortable if fucking shit falls apart. The people I know, the people I'm connected to, we discuss this stuff on a fairly regular basis. I have, like, friends that are basically my family here. We've been discussing this for probably, I'd say, the last 5 years on hypothesizing what could happen. What would we do in these situations? So we're kind of preparing, because something's going to happen. Whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's something violent, something is going to happen, and people, I think, really need to be, like, at least building the community to they know that they have support if shit falls apart. I think food transportation is going to be the thing that fucking catalyst.
Yeah, once food scarcity, that's when everyone turns on each other.
That I think the transportation issue is our biggest concern, because of the fact that food necessities will be greatly impacted, and that'll end up being a catalyst for people.
The supply chain's already been fucked up in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The fucking last year and a half, we've had ups and downs with it. Now with fucking labor issues, like it's to me, it seems like only a matter of time.
I think so too, as well.
And so I'm glad I have friends who have gardens. I have, who have fucking ducks and chickens, and I know people who can help me get basic food that I may need. And I live in an apartment. I can't store things. I know I do have rice and beans, so there's things that I can offer people to make sure that good trade-off, I think. And that's why community is so important. Like, you have to have people around, but even fucking skills, not everybody's going to have the same skills to get by when things... I have
zero survival skills. I know how to fish. That's it.
I mean, like, fucking worst year ever... because I'm catching up on all of like the Robert Evans ones, and they do on Behind the Bastards. They've been compressing their worst year ever episodes, where you can listen to all week, because they're doing them daily now, so you can listen to a weeks of episodes in one sitting. Which, me driving, that's fucking excellent. But they did a whole thing on like fucking DIY and how people got into it. It originally started with a fucking punk scene being broke, and we want this. Well, how do we make it ourselves? But like, anybody can fucking find something you're interested in, go to YouTube, look up how to do it, and like even little things that you don't think would be helpful, in some way they may be helpful to a community. And like, if everybody's contributing something, fuck, most of my DIY stuff revolves around art. But you know what? If we need a table built, my art background can help me build a table. There's it's little things like that. My art background has taught me how to build things. So I know when it comes to building things, if things are drastically changed and we need a community to pull together, I can help build things. Somebody else can help grow things. I can't fucking garden. I look at a fucking plant and it dies 90% of the time. Don't put me in a fucking garden unless you want me to fucking weed it. I'm great at pulling weeds.
We need to transform Dustin's whole yard anyways.
We're going, yes. We've those of us
Sam's
without a yard.
So much shit for my yard.
It's all of us. Because, like, he has a great fucking yard. And so there's me and Sam.
Just needs more biodiversity to make Sam happy.
Like,
yeah, I want to go on a safari in your backyard. And I want to cuddle with your yard possum next year.
Yard possum
Yeah,
is so crazy.
everybody without a yard has claimed Dustin's yard, and we're gonna redo it next spring
I'm
and
here
make
for it.
it
It's the
what
people's
we
yard.
would
The
want.
people's
Yeah.
yard, our yard.
Our yard.
All right, well, guys, that's going to wrap us up. After you've taken over my yard, that's going to wrap us up for episode 40, you guys.
Wow.
Episode 40 of
Big
Apostates on the
40.
Fringe.
12
Thank you-
more to be a year.
I know, it's getting close. Thank you guys again for joining us this week. As always, you can check us out on social media. If you'd like links to the articles or to contact the show, visit us at apostatepod.com, and we will see you all next week. Fuck Rittenhouse, that little bitch. Punch him in the face.
If you see him out-
self-defense to preemptively strike.
Yeah,
Right.
if you see Rittenhouse out after the trial, like, yeah, self-defense that shit.
Thank you all very much. Apostates on the Fringe. Apostates on the Fringe.
The views and opinions of the hosts of Apostates on the Fringe do not represent the views and opinions of the Atheist Society of Knoxville. For links to all our musical contributors, go to apostatepod.com and check the About Us page. A big thank you to Michael Scott Arden, who allows the show to use his full catalog.